So Jan, you've been, I understand, working in the genealogy field, particularly with Aboriginal people for now 40 years?
Yeah, getting there, getting up to 40 years, I'm not quite sure, but it was many years ago that I think I was in my 30s when I decided there had to be more to life than I was getting out of it, like getting up and going to work every day and, you know, doing those sorts of things. And I went to work one day and resigned and decided to write a book. And I had been told about Batty Library. My father had donated my great-grandfather's blacksmith records. I didn't know anything about him, and I went into Batty Library, and because I was from the Avon Valley, Dr. Rica Erickson had just started to collect information for the Dictionaries of Western Australians. So immediately they found out I was researching the Avon Valley. They went and tipped her off, and she came out and recruited me. So I, from then on, with no experience, I started to give her information on what I found on the families of the Avon Valley. And so it started. In the Bison, I wrote my first book in 1982, I think it was, and then another one followed. That one took me 6 years, the first one, to research, and then another one in 2 years, and so at two yearly intervals, more or less, I produced another book. And I'm very interested in the military, so that wasn't far behind it. But in the bicentennial year, we amalgamated the dictionaries and produced what is called the Bicentennial Dictionary Series. And when it was finished, I thought, what am I going to do? It's a bit like a drug. You know, what will I do now with my time? What am I going to do? And I thought, you know, my mother had such an incredibly hard life. She had 10 children and 2 sets of twins, of which my twin sister and I were the youngest. And my twin sister, unfortunately, was killed when she was 22. When I thought about my mother and this incredibly hard life, my father was a very prominent man in the town. He was a drunkard, a gambler, and he used to just domestic violence was a name we grew up with. And I can remember incredible things, you know, happening, of her getting beaten and all us little kids sitting there screaming. Anyway, I began to think about the Aboriginal women that I knew. You know, I thought, it even brings tears to my eyes just thinking about it, when I thought about the life, when I thought about the parallel of my mother's life and their life. You know, it's very sad. They had all these kids and they had this similar life of domestic violence, of no money, of trying to feed their kids. Same as Mum. My mother worked at every pub in town to get enough money, you know, to feed us. And I could see these old Aboriginal ladies doing the same thing. So when the dictionary's finished, I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to record the lives of these Aboriginal mothers, because I'd written about mine. So that's what I did. Now I think I have 191,000 people in my database, and I honour those women with the life they have and the respect that their children, you know, the awe that their children hold them in, just like the awe that I still hold my mother in, she was born at the turn of the century, you know, and just amazing. And one day I was there researching, you know, and I thought, I wish I had photos of these people, of all of them, every name. And I thought, but where can you get photographs? Nobody had cameras, and especially during the Depression years, no one. And the war years, they just couldn't afford that. And I thought, I know, mugshots. Everyone was arrested for being in town after 6 o'clock at night. So they've got to be there. So off I went to the State Archives, and got the police gazettes, and there they were. So to be able to collect those photos would have cost me at the time something like $11 each, and I didn't have that sort of money. So I came home, and I was a force to be reckoned with when it came to permissions and things, and so I went to my local politician, who sent me to the superintendent of police, and he gave me permission to go to the police library, where I set myself up for 3 weeks with a computer and everything else and travelled each day, and I scanned 7,000 photographs. There they all were, beautiful photos, and I've had the most incredible experiences from those photos. Grown men sitting on my back step crying because they see their mother for the first time, because they were taken away from their families at the age of 2 and put in missions and never ever saw their mother. I've had the most remarkable experiences being able to reunite dislocated families, dislocated by the 1905 Act, you know, where the kids were taken away if they were part Aboriginal and part white. I don't know who decided it was better to raise you white than Aboriginal. I don't know. I think I've learned so much from the Aboriginal people, the wonderful loyalty and love and honesty shown to one another. That's what I've learned. It's a remarkable thing.